And we are back here at NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale. This is Prep Recruiting Insider, PRI. I'm Rick Gailey, the coach of Prep Recruiting Insider, along with Renee Nato, our esteemed Prep Recruiting Insider himself. And we are so happy to have on the ultimate show of the year, Coach Curtis Johnson of the Tulane Green Wave, the head coach of the Green Wave. Thanks for being here today, Coach. It's a busy time of year for you.
Absolutely. We just started spring ball, but this is truly an honor to come out here and be on you guys' show. This is a fantastic show. It's one of the better shows. This is one of the shows I really do watch.
And this is your, fourth spring practice.
Yes, what's good about it is truly good. We finally got a site where we can practice every day in spring ball. It rained today. We can still get back over to the Saints and do a little bit over there. So it's really, truly good for us. Our kids are really picking stuff up, and they're doing a very, very good job.
I want you to talk about your recruiting class this year, CJ. But first of all, your 3 years there, you have signed 51 kids from the state of Louisiana, 35 from the New Orleans area. Talk a little bit about this class this year and why it was special.
You know what, when we came in here, I wanted coaches with a philosophy that Louisiana would be our home. Louisiana would be the place where we want to get the majority of our players. We want our school to be the Louisiana school, especially the New Orleans area players. So we're always going to work our infrastructure inside the New Orleans area. Then we'll branch right out to the river parishes and even more to Baton Rouge and then Lake Charles in North Louisiana. But this is what we are. We are truly a New Orleans and Louisiana team.
Because Tulane is the largest private employer in the city of New Orleans. Not many people are aware of that. But also something that's helping you is that the education system, especially in South Louisiana, has improved so dramatically, and there's so much competition academically as well, that's really playing into your benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. Tulane's a phenomenal institution. If you ask me, when you look at Tulane around the country, everyone would say, golly, you got one of the best schools in the world, not just private schools. It's right up there with Stanford, right up there with Cal, Berkeley. So this is one of those places where I would say everyone really should want to come.
It's funny you mentioned Stanford. David Shaw, head coach out there, said he's not Johnny Appleseed. He doesn't want to throw a lot of seeds around the country and whoever commits first gets the scholarship. You have to be selective, and you know what kind of athlete you're looking for, CJ.
Absolutely. We want our type player. Our type player got to be one, smart. You got to be a smart player to be a football player. Then you got to be tough, and then you got to be willing to go the extra mile academically for us. And then you want to represent our school with great pride, and that's the kind of players we're going to always get.
And you had a little slip there for a second when the word pro came out, but that's the kind of players you need. You need players who are interested in becoming NFL players, because it's okay to be highly intelligent. You have to be pro players. And it's important that young people realize that Tulane is a great opportunity for them to make it to the NFL.
Absolutely. It's a phenomenal opportunity. Our defensive coordinator, Lionel Washington, played 15 years in the league, coached 13 years in the NFL. There's a bunch of players that come out of Tulane. Probably the best running back in football right now, Matt Forte. He's a Tulane graduate. So you just want to, you want guys to have an opportunity to do some of those things too.
Past 25 weeks, Curtis, we've had a lot of guys who've signed with you. A lot of kids right now watching this show because it's a prep recruiting show. If you have a chance to talk to some of the juniors and sophomores and freshmen, why is it a good idea to look at Tulane?
What I would say is, you look at what we do, first of all, the majority of our coaches are from this area. We understand the football. We understand the coaching here is just phenomenal. These high school coaches do a fantastic job. Then you also similarly, you look at where we are. We're in the New Orleans, the heart of the South, where there's no football better. There's more Super Bowls been played here. There's more places to go. We're in a great conference, this brand new conference. And oh, by the way, we got a brand new state-of-the-art football stadium. So if you ask me what school I'm going to Tulane. Education costs $70,000 a year. You get what you pay for. You can have a Mercedes-Benz education, or you can have a Volkswagen education.
And that's what we tell the kids so often when they're here, that it is okay to be excellent in everything that you do. And Tulane has got to be so good right now in player development. You're not always going to get the finished product so much, but you get the young player, because usually if you're a good student, you're not a 19-year-old senior.
That's right.
You're 17 years old, you got plenty of growth. Tell us about what Tulane does to help develop these young people so that they become prospects both in business, where they could be their own agent and the NFL.
You know what I would say, Tulane is one of these schools that put the maximum effort into intelligence. We want to improve you. We have a curricula that's widely spanned. It starts off with when you come in, what we do. We have guest speakers all the time that come in and talk about, making lifetime decisions. We have a great life skills program. Our kids are really attracted to it. Then our class size is so small. You have one-on-one with all the professors. They have great office hours. They're always around. They're always, willing to help our students. And then we have our professors. They teach school. They're not just research people. They teach our classes. So our kids are very excited, very, 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 very nice people, and they do a great job educating our young men.
In your third year here, Curtis, and come over from the New Orleans Saints, how are you a better coach today than when you arrived on campus?
Look, I'd be honest with you. If I would have known what a head coaching job I would have, and I would be a better assistant for Sean Payton and all the rest of the guys. I think it's a learning process. Everything's a learning process. I think you start off in your bright eye, your bushy tail. You got to figure out what you can and you cannot do. You got to figure out what your players can and cannot do. And it's just getting into a groove where what's best for your team and your particular students.
And when we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to spend more time talking about some of the specifics of spring practice, but just the ability to not be as nomadic as you've been the last 18 months has got to be a big benefit to you.
Look, it's a huge plus having a brand new state-of-the-art stadium. We walk right out back. We practice there every day. It's just a big, big plus. Our kids are just adjusted to everything. It's hard moving around like we did at once, and now we just all the time we're right there. It's perfect.
Absolutely, and that is so important because now you actually get to spend time doing what you do and planning what you plan, and less time traveling around, because every minute that you spend off campus going somewhere is 1 minute away from preparation.
Yeah, you know what, and that's the one thing our kids are just fond of, having this new stadium, but it's the games, they love it, but it's just the practice, just being in where we are, being in our environment, being right uptown. They can practice, they can walk right to class, less travel time, it's just less, it's just so much better for us.
It's all about the preparation in college football, because the young people have a lot of growth and a lot of development to do once they get there, and Tulane is preparing them for the NFL and for life. We'll be right back with another segment with Coach Curtis Johnson of the Tulane Green Wave here at NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale right after this timeout. Welcome back to Prep Recruiting Insider, PRI, here at NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale. I'm Rick Gailey, the coach of PRI, along with Renee Nato, the insider in Prep Recruiting Insider, and we're continuing our discussion with Coach Curtis Johnson of the Tulane Green Wave, the head coach of the Green Wave. Once again, Coach, thank you for being here with us on our ultimate show of the year.
Thank you so much for having me.
We've talked a little bit about some of the players you signed this year. Devin Glenn is a guy I like a lot. Reminds me a little bit of Warwick Dunn,
yes.
Warren Easton. Rod Teamer is another guy, a big-time hitter. Touch a little bit on the class. Leewood Brown is a big kid that Miami had committed, and he came over to you. Talk a little bit about this class on some guys may make an impact in 2015.
What you look at what we had to do, we had to revamp our secondary. I like those guys on the back end. You look at we signed 4 corners and 3 safeties. I'm looking at those safeties now. Rod Teamer is one of those guys that you know that's going to hit. Darius Black is another guy from Bell Chase who's a big time. Him, and then Malik Eugene, a 2-time state champion for Acadiana. I just love those guys. I love what they bring. I love what they bring to the table. Defensive lineman John Washington is one of those guys that a big physical guy. So is Webb over here at Miller McCoy. He's another young man. So looking at what we're doing, D-line, we look at on the back end, I think we'll be good. You got to replace Sam Schofield. So I think we've addressed some of those needs. And then offensively, Leewood Brown is just a phenomenal get for us. It's one of the places we struggled in the offensive line. He's a big guard from, as you know, he was committed to Miami forever. And now, we end up getting him at the final hour. So these are the type of impact players that you just love to get on in your program.
Because you had to get bigger and stronger in both the offensive and defensive line, and that's traditionally been a challenge for Tulane, and that's going to be one area probably you're going to have to go in other areas outside of Louisiana.
Yeah, you know what, especially in this new conference, you know, you look at the conference where it spans from, you go up all the way from upstate New York, Connecticut, all the way down to the state of Texas and Oklahoma. So you're going to have some big players. This conference is a little bit bigger, a little bit more physical than we had in Conference USA. So we definitely got to get bigger.
Because traditionally you've had, Tulane has been able to get skilled players from this area, but not necessarily the big people. They've had to go all over the country.
You know what, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. You know, that's what we got to do. We got to go all over the country for certain players. Like we got a place kicker, he's from Florida. We had to go, you know, some of those spots we're going to, but our main infrastructure we feel is going to be definitely in the New Orleans area.
Got to feel good about your offense, CJ. Tanner Lee, a year better. You had those stable running backs, and you got some playmakers on as wide receivers. Teddy Veal has been on the show. You got Bro, you got Unclade. So you got some young players that have a lot of potential.
Yeah, you know what, I think so. We ended up playing all those young players. We played the most freshmen. We played 20-some freshmen, 34 freshmen and sophomores we ended up playing. So I just think, you know, the future is very bright. You look what the Hilliard kid did, Dontrell Hilliard, Sherman Beatty, he's another one who can just fly. Cedric Thompson can fly. And then Joshua Round is coming back too. So that gives us enough running backs that we could do some stuff. I think Tanner Lee is having a great spring, and so is Devin Powell. You know, he's playing awesome. These young tight ends, Charles Jones and Trey Scott, young kids. So we got a lot of kids that definitely going to come along. I think going to make big plays for us this year.
And let's talk about some of the specifics of spring practice. You're much further along because you've had the same system in place now. The players know the language, which is what system is all about, being able to react instinctively for what they hear rather than having to think about it. You mentioned things have been going pretty well during spring practice. Talk about the installation, really, in all three phases of the game going on now.
You know, first of all, special teams-wise, I think we've really starting to address some of the issues we had. You know, I thought our protection was pretty decent. The kicking and snapping, we got our Doug Lichtenberger. He's our new special teams coordinator who's done it before. He's been outstanding thus far. We're breaking down the drills. We're doing some stuff like that. It's just awesome. You know, spring ball, you got a chance to do some of that stuff. I think the punter is doing phenomenal. The kickers, we got a good little kicking competition, you know, with DeRocco and Sims. They're going it's going very good. But, you know, and offensively, I think the installation is much easier. We're doing a little bit less. And then defensively, you know, Lionel's defense has been outstanding throughout the whole time we've been here.
You know, recruiting process is kind of tough sometimes on the players as well as the coaches. So many kids commit, decommit, and things like that. If you could wave a magic wand, CJ, and change any aspect or tweak the recruiting process, what would it be?
Well, one thing is there's just too much communications outside, and I hate to say the media, but there's just too much with the scouting services in the media. The second thing I would do, it's A and B questions for me. I'd have an early signing day. You know, if you know you want to go to a school, sign those kids, sign them up early, and then you got to live with them.
Because we have been on a campaign here against street agents every week that we have kids on, and now that we have a Division I head coach here, and he's going to be able to tell you no one can do for a player what, number one, the player can do for himself by playing well, but number two, what the school can do for them. Join the rant.
Absolutely. You know what? I would say this. I would say this to a young man right now. Two things. One, you trust your parents. And you trust your high school coaches. Those guys are with you all the time. Your parents been with you forever, and your high school coach been with you since you've been in high school. Those are the two people I would trust, and go to a place where you're going to graduate, get a great education, and then have fun.
Why do you see it such a promising 2015 for the Green Wave?
Well, I just think we're very accustomed to the schedule. We really started to hit our stride a little bit defensively towards the end. We got better offensively. We had a couple setbacks with injuries, but I just think we're ready to just boat out this gate and play very well in 2015.
And in our last 90 seconds, Coach, you've been a lot of places, seen a lot of different programs, both at the high school, collegiate, and professional level. You've seen a lot of players who look like they had no reason to make it become successes, and you've seen a lot of players who look like they couldn't miss and they don't become successful. They're failures. What's the difference?
I would say this: the intelligence of the players, number one; the character of the players, number two. Those two things you can't replace. And the third thing is everybody's given is given some God-given skills. I think you got to develop your skills in the work and a heart that you have. Those are the three things more important than athletic ability or anything else.
That's right, and it is okay. In fact, every single person out there should spend every single day working toward making themselves better to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And Coach Johnson, thank you for being here, because that's a direction Tulane University football is going in, helping make you the best player and best person that you can be. Thank you so much, Coach Johnson.
Thanks for
And we're going to have Lionel Washington on later in the show, somebody I coached at Tulane. Brian Lazar is next for a little Tiger Bait action. We're here at NOLA Motorsports Park, here in the event center with a big track right behind us for the Grand Prix of Louisiana coming in April. We will be right back with Brian Lazar after this timeout.